Welcome to the new moon in Sagittarius. First of all, before getting into this new moon, I'm going to backtrack a little bit into the season of Scorpio, as I feel it was a more trying season. Of course, Scorpio offers us an incredible opportunity to reach more of the depths of ourselves, but I feel this last Scorpio season was quite powerful. It was quite impactful and did affect many of us. So first, going back into Scorpio season and the tie into Sagittarius season, as we are in Sagittarius season currently, going into this new moon on November the 30th or December the 1st, depending on where you are in the world. Sagittarius is the transition from the underworld, moving away from a time of death and rebirth. This is a bit of the rebirth process, moving into an alignment of who we truly are, our direction, what feels right for us, our inner truth. When we go through these periods of difficulty, the downward moments, the maybe depression or fear or uncertainty, we can grab hold of it in this moment during, of course, Scorpio season offered us this opportunity to grab hold of it and work with it to transmute some of these deeper fears. And I want to go into the correlation or the dynamic between fear versus higher self. Now, you may hear people talk about fear versus love, and I have probably most likely discussed this before in the past, but I do want to share some information that I received from a dear friend of mine, a mentor, after we discussed some of these aspects in detail, and it clicked in a way for me that hadn't clicked before, and I want to share it with you. And this was a very, I feel, kind of a missing piece for myself, if you will, just a little bit of more information that I needed to really make sense of how it feels within myself. And of course, you are going to have your own inner experiences. I will do my best always to try and navigate you through that, but you're going to be the master of your own domain, meaning it does take work. It does take time to sit with ourselves. I know it's uncomfortable, but I do want to preface this whole transitionary phase, or the transitionary phases that we can find ourselves in. When we work with it, will change our path forward completely. If we aren't working with our deeper self, then we are going to perpetuate, unfortunately, these common patterns that we may find ourselves in until we grab hold of what is at the root. And sometimes we do need to repeat patterns. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we do need to experience some of these uncomfortable experiences over and over again until it clicks. And that is part of this process. This is your inner journey. And this last season in Scorpio allowed you, potentially, if it resonates with you, to go deeper within and grab hold of these underlying fears and anger or resentment or worry, to really see the origin, to really understand the origin of these complex feelings and emotions and sensations and thoughts. And then, of course, the behavioral patterns as a result, what is happening in our outer environment, what we're saying outwardly, how we're acting and behaving. Are we sabotaging ourselves? Are we allowing ourselves for growth, etc.? And so awareness is always key through this process. I cannot stress this enough. Awareness, always. Taking time just to simply observing the body, observing the mind, observing the thoughts, the words, and of course the actions, the behaviors. And it's just simple awareness is going to allow for greater evolution through this process. Now, going back into the love versus fear, I'm sure you've heard this before. I've talked about it before, but I'm going to position it a little bit differently and provide it for you as a tool to use. When we are in fear, we are not in alignment with our higher self. And fear comes from our deep unconscious self. It comes from our programs, what's been programmed within our belief system. It comes from memories from the past. It comes from what we've inherited from our ancestors. It comes from past life experiences. We all have this in our system. We have also the relationship with our higher self. And this is what we're coming into even more. And this is going to transition into the Sagittarius new moon. This is why I need to talk about it right now, because we have these two dynamics that are constantly in conflict within ourselves. If we are doing this practice, we're going to have moments where we're going to feel connected with our higher self. We're going to have the trust and the flow and greater levels of awareness and flexibility within our functioning and our movement, and more flow and ease and all the good stuff. Then we're going to have moments of fear where we're going to grab hold of what isn't working. We're going to look at the faults. We're going to look at the bad of the world. We're going to judge and criticize others. We are going to be in fear of our future. We're going to be hard on our bodies. We're going to, you know what I mean? It's a very resistive kind of energy. Higher self, there's no resistance. There's only flow and trust. But we do have to go through the oscillation between these two to eventually arrive in a greater relationship with our higher self. We have to go through the fear. We have to go through these uncomfortable moments to understand how to navigate through it and what is really maybe perpetuating as a pattern, as a false belief that we need to look at and acknowledge to set ourselves free. And when we see and acknowledge these patterns within ourselves and these deeper correlations and these deeper fears and what we're holding on to and how we're behaving, and etc., we set ourselves free when we create the awareness of these components within ourselves. This is part of this practice, and it's a continual going through these layers until we reach more and more and more confidence with the alignment with our higher self and what that even means, how that even feels. How does it feel to be in alignment and work with your higher self, not working with fear anymore? And fear can completely override our system. And so we have a choice in these moments. And I know these choices are sometimes easier said than done, and it's something I've been working on myself, but we do have a choice. Who do we want in charge? Do we want fear to be in charge, or do we want our higher self to be in charge? And if we want our higher self to be in charge, what does that look like? And how does it feel? And how can we align more with that relationship? And that really is the simplicity of this dynamic and of working through difficult moments that we may find ourselves in. Who do you want in charge? Your higher self or fear? And fear creates resistance. Fear even feels like energetic weight. It can feel like energetic weight within the mind, the relationship with the egoic self. It can feel like energetic weight within the body. Any kind of resistance, any flinch, any flicker of anger or resentment or worry comes from fear. In that split moment, there is a disassociation from the relationship with the higher self. And we all go through this. I go through this constantly, but I'm seeing it more and more and more. And because I've dedicated my work so much to this practice, to create this relationship with my higher self, so I can let go of these patterns and get out of these icky, uncomfortable moments and things that I hold on to unconsciously, so I can let go of them. And I can move into a greater relationship with life. And that really is the relationship with higher self. When you are in a relationship with your higher self, you're going to have more trust. You're going to have more freedom. You're going to have more flow and flexibility, and things will happen easier and things will happen smoother. And there will be less resistance, so you can create and manifest and really get out of the way and just be part of life. Right? So we do this by going through these seasons, by going through Scorpio season to reach our depths, and that fear of what is holding us back or getting in the way or causing this discomfort, causing these patterns, so we can let it go, so we can transmute. Now we are moving into the relationship with Sagittarius, which is allowing us to honor our true authentic self. Our true self. Sagittarius has a very strong tie with authenticity. All the fire signs do. And so Sagittarius allows us to point our direction into alignment with our highest truth, our greatest good, our highest self, and move into this direction accordingly. Have a bit more clarity about who we are now, since we've come out of this deep transformative time during Scorpio season. We also have a lot of fluctuation and change with planets as well. Of course, Pluto in Aquarius, you all know about that one. It was big news. And I feel that transitionary phase from Capricorn into Aquarius was a bit of a pressure cooker, especially during Scorpio season. And I'm sure there were other aspects in astrology that were happening, and maybe just in your own personal life and in the world. We have a lot to work with here, right? So there was a bit of intensity during the Scorpio season, especially around the new moon in Scorpio, early November, and then moving us midway into the full moon in Taurus that we just had almost 2 weeks ago, or about a week and a bit ago. Now we're moving into Sagittarius season. We also have Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius as of tomorrow. I'm recording this video on the 24th. It's going to be on the 25th. We already have been in the shadow period of the retrograde. which could cause chaos and confusion or a little bit of scrambledness with direction with the relationship with your higher self and translating it into maybe methods of communication or knowing. Mercury rules the mind, communication, also, of course, how we are communicating, how we are interpreting logic, and that communication center that we have up here. So with Sagittarius being more of an alignment or offering us an ability to align with our truth, our authentic self, our direction, being open for adventure and optimism, opening up and expanding outwardly. This retrograde could cause a little bit of an interruption in that functioning regarding direction or clarity or even communication. So just pay attention if there is confusion around direction, confusion around maybe even communication about who you are, where you're going, your direction, your higher truth, your authentic self, etc. So there may be a little bit of this miscommunication or feeling imbalanced in this arena of, again, direction, where you're pointing yourself, maybe even travel, maybe some issues with travel, or maybe some plans aren't moving in the direction that you're hoping. So retrogrades are always a time for reflection. It offers us an important time. It's not a time to be dramatic. I know there's a lot of content out there that constantly is getting thrown out during retrogrades of panic and chaos and destruction or whatever worst case scenario. It's not about that at all. It's simply a time for reflection and pause, and maybe even going back a few steps to make some constructive changes to realign you and point you in the direction that your higher self and your true self are meant to go. So we do have the control mechanisms within ourselves where we want things done a certain way at a certain timeline in a certain fashion and have certain expectations. When those expectations and those modes of control aren't met, when we don't see what we want, we're going to get disappointed. We're going to get frustrated. We're going to give up. We're going to lose faith. That is not the relationship with the higher self. The higher self has a bigger plan for you. And when you are connected with that, and thus, of course, your inner truth, Sagittarius, you will be able to align with your direction and with life with more flow and ease, allowing yourself to move with the rhythm of life. And so Sagittarius, as the archer, the centaur, points the arrow into the direction for learning, for experiencing life, for adventure. It's a very optimistic and very uplifting energy, and it does have a very strong correlation with our authentic, true self. Being real, being genuine, being true to who we are, what we want to experience. And also with this new moon, you might also be feeling like you want to start a new adventure. You might be feeling fresh. You might be feeling revived. You might have a new sense of self, a new sense of direction. Now, I feel Mercury retrograde could create a little bit of conflict with this new moon. Perhaps it's just observation, but use this new moon to set new intentions pertaining to a direction in your life. Where do you feel your soul is calling you towards? What do you want to create? What do you want to experience? What kind of friendships do you want in your life? Do you want to travel and broaden your horizons, maybe learn something new? Sagittarius is of the higher mind, based on the wisdom gained through experiences, through adventure, through learning life in different ways. So be open for adventure. Use this new moon as a catalyst to step into a new experience in alignment with your higher self, in alignment with your greatest good and greatest potential, your inner truth, your true self. Where is that leading you? What direction do you feel that it's calling you towards? And how can you open yourself up more to that journey? What do you need to do to take effective action in that direction that you are wanting to pursue? Maybe put some thought to paper with some intention setting and plan out this little adventure of yours based on, again, a new insight, new wisdom, new understanding, a new sense of self. Where do you want to go with it? What kind of experiences do you want to have? What kind of life do you want to see unfold with this new version of yourself? What does freedom mean for you? What does adventure mean for you? What does excitement mean for you? What does learning mean for you? These are all components of this new moon in Sagittarius. So with the new moon, you can write down your intentions on paper. You can speak them out into the universe to make it so. You can also clear your space to let go of the old, as we did have a very transformative and somewhat heavy last season in Scorpio season. So don't be afraid to clear out the space, make space for new, and open your heart. Open your heart and your mind and your spirit and see where that wants to take you. Where is it wanting to guide you? What do you feel compelled to create or experience or move towards? This is the time to open yourself up to possibilities. Also, going into December, we have a universal month number 2. In November, we had a universal month number 1, where you may have experienced some kind of new beginning, an initiation of some kind. There may have been a few, there may have been one, but definitely just take note of what started during November. There was a lot of endings with Scorpio season in a way, but also there could have been new opportunities showing up, a new idea, a new adventure of some kind, a new job opportunity, a new relationship, friendship. Pay attention to what has transpired in November. Number 2, in December, is all about partnerships. Now, this could be relationships, partnerships of any kind. It could be love partnerships. Follow those partnerships. And this is where you can create very strong relationships. This is a time of deep emotional introspection, of diplomacy, of working with others, creating very strong and meaningful relationships. All right, so I'm wishing you all the best during this new moon in Sagittarius. Make the best of it. Open those doors, set the intentions, and step into a new. Until next time, I'll see you again, and take care.